Welcome to the Health Coach Nation podcast. My name is Hailey Rowe, and I'm a sales and marketing coach and LinkedIn lead generation service provider. I work with health, life, and mindset coaches and online service-based business owners to help them get more sales, shift their time to the client-generating activities instead of just the busy work, and overcome that social media overwhelm. Let's get into the show. If you're ready to take on your next paying clients, I have good news. My free 4 Basics of Client Attraction and How to Stand Out class is live at haileyrowe.com/client-attraction. In the class, you're going to learn the top 2 traits I recommend for most coaches and entrepreneurs if they really want to turn this into a career. You're going to learn how you can build demand for your services and stop getting crickets on your posts. You're going to learn the sales roadmap I used to improve my sales conversion rate and help my clients do the same. And you're going to learn so much more. So go to haileyrowe.com/client-attraction and get your copy of the class today.
We could talk family, work-life balance, all the good stuff. So Neil, why don't you share a little bit about what you do and we'll go from there.
Well, on the health side, the music side, business side, there's a whole lot of things we could talk about. Business side, let's start with family first. That's my most important fun. I have 4 daughters. We live on about 60 acres now in the country out here. We've got another plot we're looking to buy, so I'm confused as to how many acres we actually have now. But we do a Heritage Seed Garden. We try to get our 10,000 steps in every day. We've been on a health kick for the last 15 years of blood work and diagnosis and determination of product and relative to anything in the environment that we have that is issues with my family, as we discovered my wife's conditions and issues in her health early on that really kind of changed the way we lived and eventually caused us to move to a location where we could get clean well water and raised organic ducks and chickens and get our cow meat off the hoof that's literally grass-fed, grass-finished. And so we've been on a health kick for quite a long time now. But in that process, also building a business and doing it online has been a huge component of helping me get there. Building physical brands, physical product brands on multiple channels from Amazon to Shopify to retail and other locations. And that's a big part of what I've been doing for like the last 12 years is in the e-commerce specific world. I was in digital marketing before that. I ran a staffing and high-end consulting company. And then I fired the man, IBM, in 2007 and left that company to start this about 18 years ago. So there's a lot of stuff that's happened in 18 years that has kind of led me to this place now, which I enjoy immensely, launching products and brands and serving the market with new things.
Amazing. I love that. And when it comes to creating a product or deciding what you want to sell, if someone's listening and maybe they're a coach or they are a service provider and they're like, how do I decide, I want to sell coaching, but how do I make it a great product? How do I make it a great thing that people want? Any advice or things you go through with a client to decide what to sell?
Well, I'm actually talking to a health coach right now who's going to potentially join our program because he wants to expand beyond just the health and wellness consulting and management of his clients. He wants to provide products to them that aren't just recommendations, but they're his formulations, his product, his base. And so he's coming up with some concepts and ideas to launch a brand, a physical product brand that he can then serve his client and base with. And it really gets down to, the products around you in your everyday environment. We've been conditioned to look at everything as a consumer. And that means everything in buying. What do we like? What brands we like? What do our friends like? Is this a great brand? Is that a great company? Would this product go better? Do I need this running shoe or that running shoe or whatever the case may be? And what we haven't been conditioned is to look at it from a seller perspective, more of an entrepreneurial perspective, and realizing that all of those products could be manufactured and made, and many of them are manufactured and made by people like us. And once you start to kind of put that hat on, you start to sort of recondition your brain to start seeing that there are product opportunities all around you. If you order from Amazon like 3 times a week, I don't know if you do, but we order like 4 times a week, I think, and trucks are rolling to our house constantly. Then you should recognize that about 62% by Amazon's own admission of all of those products are sold by third-party sellers like us. So why not you? And it really just gets down to understanding the condition that all of these products in your environment are possibly something you could sell. And the first question I got asked a long time ago in the consulting world when I first started, we hit our 7-figure brand, and I had a couple people that I was helping to just mentor through the process. And I remember I got on a call and this whole conversation went down. And the guy looks at me and he's like, I get it all, but what the heck do I sell? And it stuck with us for so long that it became a mantra of trying to solve that equation continuously through process and through conditional environment and looking all around you and coming up with a product list. And then just defining, like, who do I know? Where is my circle of confidence? And if you're in the health and coaching or even coaching marketing world, there's a circle of confidence around you of people who are buying products all the time. So why couldn't they buy one of yours? And what is it that they would want to buy? If you look at them, their condition in your environment in your home, and you say, hey, you know what? Everybody likes this type of blender cup, or everybody wants that type of running shoe, or everybody likes this type of resistance band. Why couldn't I build one of those? Why couldn't I create a brand around that? And really, the answer just gets down to understanding the steps that are required to get that done in a way in which it becomes a going concern or a business that is even worth more in the end than at any time during the business building phase. Actually, when you exit those companies, a physical product company has a huge upside potential, and that is it becomes a saleable asset.
I love it. Yeah. And I'm really curious because you said, you can build a brand around your product or have your own branded product. So tell me more about what do you think is really important when creating your brand and establishing that so that people would actually want your product as opposed to somebody else's resistance band, for example?
Yeah. Well, it's down to, if anybody's a health coach listening on this and they have, at least 5 or 10 clients, they have pulled a unique position in the market by which they've attracted those people to them and not another health coach. It isn't always just location. It isn't always just which gym they're a part of or where they're at particularly. It's the affect by which people resonate with other people almost at a frequency level. If you ever stepped up to somebody in the first 30 seconds, you're just like, I don't resonate with this person. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just their affect, their person, their size, they're not size this way, that situation, the way they look, their eyes, anything. You just look at it in the conversation, you're like, you're just not jiving. We're not, as my kids would say, we're not vibing. And it's like, why are you not vibing? Why? Because everybody has a particular frequency, a tribe out there they just haven't established yet. And if you started the base of that, what you understand is there's this know, like, and trust relationship that allowed that to occur, right? The know is you can do something maybe for me that others cannot, and I believe and know that it's possible. So I have an opportunity to like you. Not that it's a guarantee, but I have an opportunity to like you, like what you're saying, like what you're about, like the way you do things, like the way people talk about you, like the things all around you. Therefore, I might like it too, which leads to that bridge of trust. I may take a chance on you. I may trust you. In the brand world, that is very similar to any product development in the same way that it's similar to your relationship and client-driven relationship. You just have to figure out what that tribe is that you're speaking to. When you find a product that fits into that, it's because the product itself is amplifying that brand. It's amplifying that know, like, and trust relationship to an audience of people out there. And in the great wide internet that we're in now, that can happen extremely fast. And videos can go viral and marketing can make huge leaps into millions of people, right? Even if you're just getting a video out there that's speaking at the first stages of your brand and your product and your type, and you're only getting 200 views, well, that's 200 people. And if you tried to set up 200 people in real life, it would be pretty difficult for you to reach 200 people every day continuously, but that's the power of the internet. And most people don't understand that 200 could turn into 20,000, could turn into 200,000. And pretty soon you could have a pretty good tribe who wants to buy physical products from you. Right. You may have some foundation of that know, like, and trust already established. And you might even be recommending other products, other workout routines, other supplements, other anything around your current business. The question just becomes, why couldn't you develop your own brand?
Yeah. I think too, sometimes people are like, well, there's nothing special about me, or I'm not unique, or I'm not, I'm very introverted. So people just don't,
Sure.
I'm going to have a hard time. But sometimes I think your clients will tell you what attracted them to you. And that's a really good way to find out what's unique about you. For example, a lot of my clients are very family oriented. I'm very family oriented. I tend to attract that, right? Or, Midwest, or, similar values to me.
Correct.
Right?
That structure of conversation. Yep.
Yeah. So how does, if let's say somebody, doesn't have a lot of clients to pull from and have that information, how do they think about what can I pull out of myself to the brand? They're like, kind of attract the kind of people I want?
Well, it's what I call that circle of confidence. It's an area you have intrinsic knowledge, you have experience, you have a family, you have friends, you have community, you might have church, you have other areas, you have gyms in which you frequent and you're about. And there's that circle of confidence in there that you see all these individuals. And what you kind of need to do is look for the pattern in it. And as you start to look for it more, and maybe even just start writing down a bunch of product ideas and start looking into your thought processes, or even as you're acting, start bringing it conscientiously to mind as you start to condition your thought processes away from consumerism and more into product development, all right, and production. And that is just, they're going to start identifying products everywhere. You're going to start seeing them. We call it white car syndrome. So I had a friend who wanted to go buy a car, and he asked me to come with him one time. And he wanted this particular car as a white car. It was a Ford Explorer. He wanted the leather seats. He wanted this, particular vehicle. And we go down there, and he's so excited because this is the one he wanted, right? And as I'm driving in, I noticed there's like one other Ford Explorer on the lot over there, looks sort of like the white one that he might want, but he didn't see any of this yet. So he gets in the car, and as he's driving home with me, it's like the world opened up. Yeah, universe moved all of these white Ford Explorers into our path. And he suddenly started to realize in the conversation as we went home, he's like, well, there's another one over there. And he's like, well, I never saw that one. Did the universe literally move physical white Ford Explorers in front of him? Or did something in his mind conscientiously change? Did something shift? And the answer, of course, is yeah, it shifted. What shifted is a subconscious awareness of everything we see in front of us that we don't always immediately bring to conscious thought, but it's always in our brain. And it's back there. And he may have not always been seeing the white cars, but they were everywhere. And suddenly they now presented in his mind a conscientious awareness. So we have to take a conscientious aspect to the way we're looking at everything, and then realize there are all these other people out there. And I don't need to be the expert in a particular product base, but I do need to be an expert in determining who are the people that want that product. And through this conditioning of looking at our environment, this urban hack, we're going to find all these product types that literally appear. You're going to end up with more ideas than you can possibly do in a lifetime. And that's a problem we can solve. Okay. The problem it comes down to is figuring out how to make it profitable and making sure that it's profitable, because you'll identify plenty of products. You just want to make sure they're profitable.
Yeah. Okay. And when trying to figure that out, any tips to see if it's
Absolutely.
profitable?
So we particularly don't sell products less than $50 in retail price point. When it comes to the world today of economics and tariffs and other things that weren't there and things that have been there in the past and possibilities of things that'll be there in the future, we know that a particular physical product movement to market needs to have a minimum of $12 in net profit on it. So if you're selling a product that doesn't produce a net profit of $12, you want to raise your price and thought process until you do. If there's a 29 version, there's a 49. If there's a 49, there's a 99. If there's a 99, there's usually 199. And there's even the ones that are like $19.99, right? I mean, if there's a purse at $20, there's a purse at $1,000 and $2,000. So what you have to do is realize that in this thinking, you might be restricting your thinking right now. You might be thinking it's not possible. No one wants to buy that. No one would buy that from me. No one's willing to pay that price point. But if you start thinking again conscientiously and looking around you, you'll start realizing people are willing to pay $99 for something they could have got for $49. Why? The perceived value of that know, like, and trust relationship established in their mind with that product is $99 value. And they might be thinking they're getting a steal because they didn't pay $199. And that's where you have to start thinking about how you present a product, an image, a graphic, a video, a writing of this product and presenting it in a marketing or a sales position with someone, so that they look at that and say, that's way more value than I would have expected to get for $99. And they're willing to pay that product price from you instead.
Yeah. Well, the analogy I like to think about when you say like how you present it is really important, is if there's a piece of art in like, on the floor, not in a frame, sitting there, you're going to think it's less valuable versus if it's in a beautiful frame and there's a light shining on it. All the things is kind of
all the presentation. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. It changes. Yep.
I used to work in business development and marketing for a company that was a product-based company. And cool. I've also worked for companies that are more online services. Okay. And I got to see the difference between a product-based business and an online service-based business. Mm-hmm. And I have to tell you that when I see a product-based business, I am like, wow, I personally believe, and this could be a flawed thought, so you can correct me.
Sure.
It's so hard. It is so hard. I would go to these trade shows with the company. I would see all the things they had to deal with, and it made me want to do online services because I was like, oh man,
well, it's hard to compare the two, right? Online services, digital services, certain components of profitability will be higher. But understand, in my experience in doing that, here's one thing that I have that you might not in a service-based aspect like that. I make money when I'm sleeping.
Love it.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm making money 24/7, 365. The brand is pushing things forward even when I'm not conscientiously managing it. The brand is evolving in ecosystems and online marketplaces to reach customers and audiences all the time, all year long. And I can create multiple variations of those. And most importantly, as I have been a service provider in the past, what I realized was that I was working a continuous job that did not create income without me. Therefore, I became the linchpin in any success. If I was hurt, if I crashed or something happened, my family would be jeopardized. And for me, it was a way of getting past the digital and connecting it with a physical component that also built it into the third thing, which was a saleable asset, what we call our platinum principle. It means that every time and energy and attention and money I'm putting into that brand is building an asset that becomes a saleable asset. It is very hard to sell a coaching only business, right? At the end of the day, that valuation comes back to you, and somebody else having to take that on is nearly impossible to replicate who you are. However, a brand, okay, can be replicated beyond you. It can be extended. It's a force multiplier. So with people who are maybe just doing purely coaching, purely client-based relationships, by developing, and it is a little harder at first to get the ball moving, but once it starts to move, the time, energy, and attention required actually are less. I know it sounds weird, but it's an inverse relationship with that hill push. So then it is such a point where I now have, an operator who runs 7 multi-7-figure businesses, and it takes one operator in a system of processes and AI and monitoring blinky lights on a dashboard, literally, because he's not out there moving the product physically. There are systems that move the product now, and he can run those 3 businesses, right? And I can have multiple operators, which I do have 4, who are running multiple brands that we control and own, who are running multiple businesses. And so that multiplication now allows me to set back and have an entire organization running behind me. And there's one of the benefits of a physical-based business model that I didn't have in my digital-based world before.
Yeah, very.
And I control the outcome because it's my brand and my product. No one, can ultimately stop me from moving prices, moving products, and moving opportunity. And have I gotten through business now to a place where I'm an investor in buying into companies and working with private equity groups to acquire companies, we just won under LOI with an $11 million brand that has retail and business physical products within it. We're going to move that to a $20 to $40 million brand, and then we'll sell it again. So with the upside potential of that, that juggernaut becomes relatively large. The opportunities open up, and you find yourself not just being a one-man shop anymore.
I love it. Yeah, no, that's such a great point. And I think that both types of businesses will have hardships, different kinds of hardships. Correct. But as you said, in the long run, it's great to be able to have something that you can, be eventually kind of separated from or not.
And you have to find your aptitude at the end of it. I found it with the digital side, and I was doing affiliate marketing and helping clients. And then whenever that would change, I'd have to find a new one, or they'd fire me because I did so well. They didn't want me to do it anymore because they didn't want to pay me more money for it. Or I didn't own the other product, so I couldn't own the outcome, which means when it started to grow, if that person no longer wanted to produce that product, bam, my entire campaign had to stop. So I felt that I was on a hamster wheel with that. Right. And when I moved into that control, I also got the benefit of taking, fiat cash out of a bank account or a situation where it couldn't necessarily be controlled as much in the market. And I can create a multiplication of that product by putting it into an inventory out of cash and into a physical inventory worth 10 times more than I paid for it. It became an asset. Right. And that asset is something that I can utilize. And as the market moves, as anything goes up or down, as prices change, I can move with the market. And I've been in 18 years through some major market changes. Real estate crashes in 28 and 29. We had COVID in 2020, which created a huge problem for everybody and create a huge opportunity for many people, because in that first 3 months of 2020, we saw a hyper growth situation occur. We saw 10 years of growth in 3 months. Right. With the online world, we were able to surpass a lot of the challenges of meeting up or meeting in groups or meeting at a gym or meeting in locations or anything that would have been in a physical warehouse or any other kind of situation. We were able to plow right through all of that without an issue. And if that were to occur again, we'd be fine. If the market conditions change again, we'll adjust prices or demand with the market. There's a lot of this what's called elasticity of supply and demand that we can manage within a physical products businesses that others can't sustain.
Yeah. So you had asked me on your podcast, what is the best advice you've gotten from maybe a podcast guest or someone you've worked with? And I'd love to ask you the same thing. Out of everybody you've been talking to and working with and all that throughout the years, what's something that has really stuck with you?
It was an individual a while back. I'm trying to remember exactly who it was. I remember the phrase, and I wish I could remember their name to give them the accolade here, but it was the opportunity begins at the end of your excuses. And I remember that this situation, I was making excuses for things, and the individual just blurted in and just said, the opportunity begins at the end of your excuses. And once I heard that, I could no longer verbalize those. I had to actually take action on them.
That's a great point. I love it. So, Neil, where can everybody stay connected with you after today?
They can check out the High Voltage Business Builders podcast, which you were just gracious enough to be a guest on. So, folks, you'll want to check out Hailey's episode when it comes out live there. Over 160 episodes there of experts talking about all kinds of things from e-commerce and wealth and building and wealth management and generational wealth opportunities, of everything from real estate to physical health coaching and mindset, as well as physical products. Lastly, they can go over to voltagedm.com. That's voltagedm.com, where they can check out presentations, informations. I have a book there now about the strategies of building wealth without Wall Street through the use of e-commerce and physical product brands. So, and again, my last name is Twa. So you can also just Google that and you will not, me and the airline will show up.
I didn't even know that. All right.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for listening to this podcast. And if it's really helpful for you, I'd really appreciate if you share it and or leave a written podcast review. This tells the podcast sites that our show is useful and it will be promoted to more people that way. Thanks again.